If you're in your 20s and you often feel as lost as I do and looking for some sense of direction, well, I've compiled the ultimate 20s checklist that you should follow that will set you up for success for the rest of your life. And I've broken down into 5 main categories: finances, career, physical health, mental health, and personal. Now, this might not include everything that you should do, but it's everything that I've been learning and practicing for years now. But if there is anything you think I missed, please throw it down in the comment section below, and let's get on to topic number 1, finance. For anyone who never grew up talking about money or finances with their family, it can kind of be a scary thing to talk about, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. And the first thing you need to know to do is to set up a budget. If you don't know how much money you're making and spending, then you really don't know how your wallet is going to be doing. And that's just a recipe for a financial disaster in the future. And so a budget can be broken down into 5 main sections: income, bills, essential spending, non-essential spending, and savings and investments. So first you need to figure out your income. And once you figure out what your total monthly income is, which is usually just a couple paychecks, you need to gather all your monthly bills like rent, car payments, utilities, etc. Then you need to decide on the realistic dollar amount you would like to save and invest. Starting out with roughly 5% of your income to 25% is a solid range to begin at. Then after that, you need to gather a rough estimate of your essential spending, which is for items like groceries, gas, maintenance, and whatever else you buy on a monthly basis. And lastly, whatever left over is your non-essential spending. This is mainly for things like going to restaurants, travel, clothes, video games, or whatever else you spend your money on. And so once you have all that figured out, you need to ensure you're not left in the negatives at the end of each month. And if you are, you're going to need to adjust somewhere. Maybe you can start by removing one of the 14 different subscriptions you have, or maybe you actually just need to increase your income by switching jobs or switching careers. Whatever you do, I just recommend that you save adjusting in savings and investments until that's the last thing you can do. And so once you have your budget set up, you now need to set up an emergency fund. Every financial expert has a different opinion on what you should save. But for me personally, I think when you're in your lower 20s, you should aim for about 3 months worth of expenses. Then when you get to your mid-range of 20s, you should have about 6 months of expenses saved. And then once you get to your late 20s, early 30s, you should have roughly about a year worth of expenses saved up. And when I say this is the amount of money you need to have saved up, it doesn't mean if you make $50,000 a year, you need to have $50,000 saved for emergency savings. It's only in terms of how much you actually spend each month on expenses. So if you make $5,000 a month, but you really only spend about $3,000 per each of those months, then if you were to have a 3-month emergency fund, you'd really only need $9,000 and not $15,000. The same goes for a year. Instead of it being $60,000 that you need saved up, you really only need about $36,000 saved. In addition to that, you should also focus on increasing your credit score as much as you can, which means first, paying off your debt as fast as possible, which Dave Ramsey is the expert on this, so go watch his videos if you want to learn how to do that as fast as possible.
Don't be stupid. Try not being stupid. That's a good choice.
But, and this is where I differ from Dave Ramsey, is it also means opening up a credit card every 1 to 2 years. Most people I don't think are actually aware, but your credit score consists of 5 main factors, with 2 of them being based around your total credit accounts and your total credit age, both of which are really only affected by opening new lines of credit. Credit age simply works like this. If you have one credit card and you've had it for 10 years, your credit age is now 10 years old. But if you decide the next day to open up a new credit card, you now have one credit card with the age of 10 years and you have another one with the age of 0 years, which makes your new average 5 years of credit score history. So your credit age has essentially just dropped by half, which will definitely make your credit score drop. However, one way to combat this is to constantly open up new credit cards in your 20s. The more accounts you have, the less a new credit card will affect your credit age. However, you need to make sure your hard inquiries stay at least the level 2 or below. And usually for me, they fall off about after a year or every other year. And some credit card companies actually only do a soft inquiry, so it won't even pop up on your credit score when you open up a new card. But if you do go over that 2 hard inquiries to like 3 or 4, it's going to take a huge hit on your credit score, even if they are really considered low impact ratings. But another reason for opening new accounts in your 20s is because you need to increase your total credit accounts. According to Credit Karma, your total account factor should be roughly 21 plus to be considered perfect. So that means you need to have at least 21 total accounts that you've had for credit lines. And really, this is going to take a long time to accomplish, so I always recommend to start sooner rather than later. I currently have 18 total accounts, and my factor rating is still only considered fair right now. However, something else you need to learn in your 20s is how to properly invest. And when I say invest, I mean investing, not trading. Trading is really a form of betting, and I can go into a whole video of that in the future. But just know for now, and that the majority of people who trade stocks aren't doing it profitably. They're not really making money from it. The real money that you make is through investment. And if you're wondering what the difference is, trading is more frequent buying and selling of stocks, which usually spread out from minutes to months. Investing is less frequent buying and selling of stocks, and usually involves holding a single stock for anywhere from a year to basically until you die. So investing should mainly be focused on purchasing the stock and forgetting about it. Hence the financial term that you hear sometimes called set it and forget it. Now you can choose specific companies and stocks that you want to invest in, but after you're spending years learning investment theory, mathematical finance, human behavior, and the efficient market hypothesis, I always suggest people to just invest in index funds or ETFs, also known as exchange traded funds. Let's take for example the SPY, also known as the Spider 500 ETF Trust, and it essentially tracks the S&P 500 index, which is a portfolio of 500 companies that really represent how the stock market is doing overall. This includes companies like Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, Google, and others. So instead of placing all your money in one company, you now have it spread across 500 different companies that are all doing relatively well. And over the past 20 years, the S&P 500 has actually had an average return of about 9%, which means if you were to start investing at age 20 and put about $500 a month in this index, you would end up with roughly $2.2 million by the time you're 60. Which, I don't know about you, but that seems like a really solid retirement to me. And this is really just to give you an introduction to investing. There's legitimately unlimited resources that you can go out and look up and research that'll tell you the various ways of investing. And I personally just recommend starting off by asking ChatGPT. Ask it how to start and to give you a walkthrough of what to do and then go from there. So once you understand how to invest, you also need to understand which accounts you really should start to set up, which will be for this next part of the video. With the first one being setting up a Roth individual retirement account, also known as a Roth IRA. I'm personally a little hesitant to suggest this one for one main reason, which is because they simply kind of lock your money into your account until you hit the age of 59 and a half. So they almost force you to push your retirement out until you're at the actual retirement age. But for the majority of people, I actually don't see this as a problem. You really just need to weigh your options and the pros and cons of this. So simply what a Roth IRA is, if you make under $165,000 per year, you can open up an account to invest the money that you've received from your paychecks that's already been taxed. And then once you pull that money out upon retirement, it won't get taxed a second time. So really the great reason for this is because typically when you regularly invest through just a regular investment account, you'll be one, taxed to receive that money from your job and your paychecks and your salary. And then you'll go invest it. And then once you take that money out of the investment, you'll be taxed again. Only if you made a positive gain from it. But if you're investing, you probably will. So for an example, let's say you were to have $100,000 invested, and when you turned 60, that $100,000 was now worth $500,000 and you just sold all of these shares. That means you would have about $400,000 you made in interest, which would now be taxable income and taxed at the capital gains tax rate of 15%. So that $400,000 you made would now only be worth roughly about $340,000. But if you were to have had that $100,000 in a Roth IRA, that $400,000 would be all yours when you sell those shares. So you can see the highly appealing benefit to having one of these accounts. And this is the first investment account you should set up. However, there is one major downside to a Roth IRA. And as of this video in 2026, it's that the limit is currently set at $7,500 a year. So you can really only invest that much every year, which if you stay consistent with it, you'd still roughly have about $2.7 million available to you after about 40 years. But really that's about the most you can expect. However, if you want to be more aggressive with your investing, I also recommend to open up an individual investment account so that you're able to invest the rest of your money. Because even just adding an additional $4,500 to that amount, which makes it $12,000 a year, which comes out to about $1,000 per month, your account would go from this to this, which is over $1.5 million more. That's equivalent to a vacation every month for about 20 years. And you don't have to pay any early withdrawal fees like you would on an IRA. So if you ever get into a sticky situation, you're able to sell your stocks and not have 10% taken off the top as well as taxes. And so the last account you should set up is a regular HSA or a health savings account. An HSA is something that has triple tax benefits. It, one, reduces your taxable income because you can invest this money tax-free. Two, your investments within this account can grow and be sold tax-free. And when you decide to withdraw the money from your account to use on qualified medical expenses, that will also be tax-free. And I know what you're thinking, like, oh, I don't really spend money on healthcare. I'm in my 20s, I'm young, I'm healthy. Well, for one, you're going to eventually. Currently, the average lifetime spending on healthcare is around $440,000 according to the NIH. And even if you don't spend that much money, you can buy so many things with your HSA money. First aid, medicine, workout equipment, regular doctor visits, and more are all things you can spend your HSA money on every month. And if you have money left over by the time you're 65 years old, you can actually pull the money out of this account to spend on regular purchases like trips, vacations, your house. So it's really essentially a backup retirement account that you can use for medical expenses. So really, if you're in need of some direction in your 20s, take this video and use what I said in here and write it down. Then come back a year from now and see how much progress you've actually made. Remember, your life is a marathon, not a sprint, and with enough consistency, you'll get to where you want to go. And so if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like this, I do ask you guys, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can see when my next upload is. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.